So in today's video, I'm going to give you seven things that most businesses do. These are habitual habits that people have that hold you back. So again, I'm going to break down 7 steps or 7 things that people do that are holding people back from their business. Because the truth is that your mindset is really what's going to hold you back in life and in business. And if you look at the most successful entrepreneurs on the planet, they have a creative mechanism that they use in order to really catapult their businesses. And it's not cash. And it's not credit, it's creativity. And just to give you a little bit of like street cred, so I've grown an average of 40% over the last 8 years, every year consistently. COVID, no COVID, didn't matter. I was growing on average. You know, some years were 28%, but then some years were 72%. So the fact that I averaged 40% over the last 9 years gives me a pedestal or a platform in which that I can speak intelligently about this, knowing that most companies grow on average about 6-7% a year. So starting with bad habit number 1 is the following: ignoring market trends. Very, very, very important. This is one of the worst business things that you can possibly do, is ignore the market trends. Okay, there's just no excuse for you to not be paying attention to where your market's going. Like, look what happened to Blockbuster Video. Okay, they were simply just ignoring the market trend. So whether it's ignoring new technology or where your customer base is moving to, what they want and need now as opposed to what they needed and wanted 5 years ago, is going to be a trend that you got to really pay attention to. So one of the things that I think has made me the most successful in my industry, you know, we're the largest platform contactless testing company in the country. We test for sleep apnea and a lot of other things. And one of the things that has made us very successful is we keep a very close ear to the ground about what's happening in our doctors' offices. Now we have over 40,000 plus doctors' offices that we work with in 45 states. But nonetheless, if I operate and I make decisions purely from the top as opposed to what's happening on the ground level, I will be making mistakes and I won't be paying attention to the trends. So like, for example, inaction kills your business because you don't know exactly what you're trying to do. Okay, so some people are always paying a lot of attention to competitors and what's my competitor doing, and you may feel like you're like falling behind because some competitors you feel have a better strategic plan about what's going on, etc., right? So let me give you an example about this. I don't really pay attention to what competitors are doing because most competitors are making decisions based on what they think. There's very few competitors that are actually doing market research on exactly what the trends are, right? Look at Blockbuster Video. This is a perfect example. Blockbuster Video, if you were following them, you were a video store and you were following them, you would have went bankrupt. Following Blockbuster. Blockbuster was the behemoth of the video rental business in the 80s and 90s. So if you were following Blockbuster Video, you would have gotten a lot of bad advice. So even as big as they were, they didn't have their ear to the ground. They didn't know exactly where people were starting to move to. Even though Netflix came and knocked on their door and said, hey, you guys should buy us, they laughed at them and said, oh, you guys are ridiculous, you don't know what you're talking about. Again, they were kind of fat and happy, high on the hog, kind of thinking, hey, we're indestructible, we can't go anywhere. And the reality is you can't have that mindset. You got to wake up every single day like the rent is due. So every day when I wake up like the rent is due. That's the mentality. It's a startup mentality, even on year 10 as I had on year 1. That's the mentality I have. If you think with, hey, that my competitor's doing this, well, then you got to ask yourself, okay, has that been correctly vetted? Are they actually making the right decision? I don't pay attention to what competitors are doing. What I pay attention to is, what do my customers want and need? Are my customers saying that they want something different? If my customers say that I want something different, I will absolutely shift the business in that direction. But if the customers are not saying, my patients, my doctors, if they're not saying, hey Vic, I want this, then I'm not going to provide that. Okay, I'm going to provide what it is that they want and need. Now there's nuances to it, and you know, we have technology and we have all these softwares and we have apps and we have all these things, and we make the process easier for them. But the whole general ideology and philosophy of how the business runs is essentially the same, right? Similarly, in Amazon, they're shipping you something. Now they have a lot of apps and software and drones and all these things, but the core business model is the same. So you got to think with that same concept. What's your core business model? Can you add things to your business model that's going to make it easier to deliver your product or service? But at the end of the day, if you don't pay attention to what they want and you just pay attention to what your competitor's doing, you don't really know what the competitor's looking at. You don't know what data they have. You don't know if they're just making decisions based off ego and they feel like they should do this or they should do that. So you got to really pay attention to what and who you're listening to so that you don't make the wrong mistake. Entrepreneurs typically get into this pressure situation where there's no money. There's not enough money to pay your bills. There's not enough money to make the rent. There's not enough money to make payroll. And so you immediately go into this contraction as a business, okay? So contraction is deadly. The mindset is this: you are never gonna cut your expenses to make profitability, okay? I'm gonna repeat that. Cutting expenses does not make you profitable. You got to focus on driving revenue and driving sales. The solution to every problem is to make more money. The solution to every problem is not to cut expenses. You won't cut your way into profitability on your balance sheet, your profit and loss statement. You just can't cut that much unless you have a significant amount of overhead that you just don't absolutely need, which I hope that's not the case. But if you don't have that much overhead, sure, you can cut here and there. You can save $10,000 here or $100,000 here, but that's not really going to save you. It's not going to save your business, and it's not going to make you profitable. What's going to make you profitable is focusing on the top line. The majority of your attention's got to be on the top line. 80% of your attention's got to be on the top line. Now, as you grow that top line, the bottom line will naturally take care of itself, okay? If you grow that top line, the bottom line will work out as long as you're not overspending. If you focus on the top line and you spend a lot of your time driving sales, yeah, at some point you take a little bit of a breather and you can focus on your expenses and figure out, okay, well, hey, now I don't need this, or now I could replace this with AI, I could replace this with this, or whatever, and you can move those expenses down and you can increase your profitability, right? So now I do that a lot, but I spend a lot of my time, or the majority of my time, focused on top line revenue. And I have literally forced myself to get out of this idea of contraction. So when business is bad, times are bad, money's not coming in, the first thing I think is sales. How can I increase sales? How can I improve output, productivity, get everybody banging on the door so that the business goes up? How can we reduce our customer acquisition cost by 30%? Okay, that's a good way you can cut expenses. What if we could increase our customer lifetime value by 50%? Is there a way to automate 30 to 40% of our rudimentary parts of our business? The customer service aspect, the just general interaction with the customer. How do I take the heavy payroll burden off the company and put that into AI? Those are the things you really want to be looking at. How can we enter new markets? So for example, we're in 44, 45 states. So there are cities that we're not necessarily in. So we're looking at, okay, how do we drop people into cities? Like this week alone, I think we hired 10 or 12 salespeople in certain cities across the US to really bang sales. Again, sales. But these are the types of questions that you got to be asking yourself when times are bad. Don't go into this $100 or $10 mindset of like, oh, times are bad. How can I cut $10? How can I pinch a penny? How can I do that? Again, yes, I'm not telling you to overspend, but what I'm telling you to do is don't spend 80% of your time trying to cut expenses when you should be focused on generating sales. Sales is going to solve all of your problems. Cutting expenses is not. Cutting expenses is going to lead you to bankruptcy because you're just focused on the negative. You're focused on, hey, how can I cut these expenses? Well, dude, you're not going to, if you're losing $1 million a year, you're not going to cut $1 million worth of expenses. You can't get rid of your office building. You can't get rid of your employees. You can't get rid of your insurance. Those are the things you have to have. So the only thing you can do is increase sales $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. That's the only way to do it. So the other aspect is not a lot of businesses understand what their acquisition costs for their customers. They don't understand the acquisition costs for their customers, and they don't know exactly what they're spending per head. So if you're spending 50% of your money on acquisition for new customers, but yet the dollar amount per lead or per sale is short, you're gonna fall short. So you gotta make sure, okay, what is my general acquisition cost for each customer that I get in my business? And sometimes there's crazy numbers. People are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to generate customer leads or customers that want to come in the door. So the next thing is Suppliers, okay? How do you negotiate with suppliers? So again, to make this not overly complicated, what I'll tell you is you always want to get 3 bids. This is a standard process. Get 3 bids on everything that you do and make sure that you're constantly keeping your vendors honest. So what I typically do is every 6 months, every year, I'm repricing things. I'm asking my accounting team to go back and say, hey, we want better pricing, volume's gone up, inflation, et cetera. Maybe our acquisition costs went up or increased. Hey, we want to fluctuate, we want to adjust this expense because now our volume has gone up. Now, when you're a smaller player and you don't have the leverage like we do in certain aspects with certain vendors, then you got to think with, okay, well look, I don't have leverage right now to go get better pricing. Fine, grow. Again, going back to what I was saying before, if you're the number 1 player in your space, or at least in the top 3, you have the leverage then to get better pricing from your vendors. But when you don't have that, you have a difficult time trying to leverage. The other bad habit that you got to really stop doing is this, is you got to stop worrying about your competition. The only reason you're worrying about your competition is because you're just basically admitting to yourself that you don't know your business well enough. You have to know your business better than anybody else. If you know your business, you know your customer better than anybody else, you will never worry about what your competitors are doing. I have spent months and years of my time really understanding my customers, my doctors, and understanding my patients and understanding exactly what it is that they want and need. As long as I know that, I will continue to remain successful. When I stop understanding that is when I'll start worrying about what my competitors are doing because I don't understand my business well enough. So very, very key point to pay attention to. If you're sitting there right now watching this video and you're worried about your competition, you're basically in a situation that you don't know your business well enough, and I advise you to take a deep dive into your business, into your customer base, and really understand the fundamentals of what it is they want and need so that you can provide that service day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And as long as you stay focused on that, you'll never spend any time worrying about my competitors. I can tell you that when we have our executive meetings and we have all our senior meetings, we never talk about our competitors because it's irrelevant. We don't care what they're doing. What we care is what are our customers doing. That's where you want to pay attention. So here's the other thing you don't want to do. You don't want to have generic goals. People that have generic goals have generic lives because they're not specific about what it is that they want. Everything that I have today in my life, everything from my business to my employees to my family to my friends, are things that I was specific about. Specific. I was specific. I was not generic. I was not generic. Generic goals lead to generic lives. Specific goals lead to specific lives. So when you're running your business, you have to be specific. You have to give specific, clear instruction to your managers, to your employees, and say, hey, we want to accomplish this by this time. For example, we want to get 10,000 more customers in the next 7 months, okay? So what does that break down to? So 7 months, I got to get, this is literally how our meetings go. I need to get 10,000 customers over 7 months. That's 1,400 customers a month divided by 21 business days. So 68. I got to get 68 new customers a day. That's how we think. We think, okay, how do I get 68 new customers a day? Okay, that means I got to go talk to 300-400 people. Okay, if I talk to 300-400 people, has that statistically worked in the past where I would be able to close 20%, 30%, what's our close ratio? And our close ratio is 30%. Oh, okay, cool. So if I talk to, 200 people, I'm gonna get 60. If I talk to 300 people and my close ratio is 20%, I'm gonna get 60. I'm gonna get 400, it's, 80, whatever the number is, right? So you gotta think with reverse engineering whatever it is your target is. Again, I'm being very specific. And I'll tell you that every goal that we have set in our business, that's specific, we've hit. There's really never a time that we don't actually hit the targets we want because we're so damn specific. There's no generality about what it is that we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to get to this number. We reverse engineer that number down to in the month, down to the week, down to the day, down to the hour. There's some departments in our company that we run hour to hour, hour to hour. So we say, hey, we want to get 150 calls a day, and we want you to do 150 text messages a day. So then we take that and we say, okay, 150 calls a day in an 8-hour day is 18 calls and 18 text messages. We have a person that goes around in these specific departments hour to hour, and they're literally just getting an update from the individual. Okay, where are we at? I did 20. Okay, cool, you're ahead. Oh, I did 10. Okay, well, let's crank up. Next, that 8 gets added to the next hour. And we do that every single day, Monday through Friday, religiously. And then it's no surprise when we look at the end of the year and we're like, wow, we're up 40%. This is not an accident. It's not luck. It's simply based on the fact that we reverse engineer everything. We figure out what it takes per month, per week, per day, and then we drive the business. Like, we will the shit out of it to get it to the point that we wanted to get to. We don't sit back and just hope and pray and wish that luck comes our way. We create the luck ourselves by understanding the metrics, understanding what it takes, and then just do. We do a lot, and we don't waste time trying to come up with these other easier ways to do things. And what I say by that is some people think that success is just easy. Oh, well, let's have an app do this. An app ain't gonna do this. This is you driving the business. We drive the shit out of this every single day, and that's why we get the conversion rates that we get. That's the reason we get the growth year over year that we get. Like, again, it's not an accident. You can't have an accident 9 years in a row. So that leads me to the other bad habit, okay? So here's the other bad habit. You have no plan. You ain't got no plan. If you ain't got no plan, you ain't got nothing. Most people, unfortunately, are waking up every single day and there's no plan. You have no plan about the type of business growth you're gonna have. You have no plan about the type of family you wanna have. There's no plan about the type of friends you wanna have, the car you're gonna have. There's no plan, zero plan. Most people spend more time, believe it or not, and this is really sad, planning their fucking weekend than they plan for their life. And you see it every single day. It's like, oh man, this weekend, I'm gonna be doing this, and I'm gonna be going to the beach, and I'm gonna be blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, what does the next year look like? Oh, I don't know, I'm living for the day. Everybody that's living for the day is broke. Everybody that's got this idea about, living for the weekend and singing Kumbaya about what's happening today in your life, they're broke, okay? You're broke because you're living for the weekend. Which is the other thing, okay? The other mistake and the other habitual thing that people get into is looking forward to the weekend. Okay, if you're looking forward to the weekend, I don't look forward to the weekend. I look forward to every single day. Every single day to me is Friday, okay? Why is it Friday? Because I'm doing what I want to do, okay? I'm in the business that I want to be in. I'm surrounded by the people that I want to be surrounded by, and I'm not in an environment that I don't want to be in, that I feel I need to escape for the weekend, okay? If you're in that environment, you should quit your job, or you should quit your career or business or whatever it is, because you're in the wrong place. You're never going to be successful because you're in a place that you want to escape. Okay, so and that goes for a relationship. If I don't want to be home, or I'm waiting for my wife to go on vacation, dude, I need to get a divorce because I'm with the wrong person, okay? Like, I don't like my wife to not be with me. I want her to be with me like all the time. If I go somewhere, she goes with me. And if that wasn't the case, that means I wouldn't like her. Why would I be married to her? Same thing with the business. Like, it's the same thing. It's not different. If you're looking forward to your spouse leaving for the weekend, you with the wrong chick. You with the wrong dude. And the same thing goes for your business. You got to think with this concept. You know, when Friday comes, I'm like, oh, it's just another day. I don't even know what day it is today. What day is it today? And I don't pay attention to that. I just wake up every day and I do. I wake up every day and I do. Oh, what day is it today? Oh, okay, cool. Like, as if that matters. It doesn't matter to me. But that's, again, a habitual habit that I've gotten myself into, that I don't pay attention to the day. It's not like it goes on this day. Wow, I'm gonna be happy because it's Friday. I don't have to go to work because I hate what I do, but I want to be super successful. Sorry, dude, you're not. The last thing is this: negative mindset. If you have a negative mindset, you're never going to be successful, and you're never going to be successful because life is going to give you problems. Guaranteed. Life's going to give you problems, guaranteed. When you're given these problems, you have a choice to make. Your choice is, do I focus on the solution or do I focus on the problem? Which one? Because if you have a negative mindset, you're going to focus on the problem and all your attention is going to go here. But if you have a positive mindset, you're going to immediately go into solution mode. And that's what you got to be thinking with all the time. Like solution mode, solution mode, solution mode. I rarely spend time even discussing the problem. I'll hear out the problem, figure out what it is. Okay, cool. I'll go right into solution mode. There's no problem that you cannot solve with the right mindset. With the right level of creativity, having the right people around you, there's absolutely there's no problem that you can't find a solution to. So I just have that mindset. There's never a problem big enough that I can't solve. It just doesn't exist. There's no problem that I can't solve. It may take a little time, may take a little effort, may need to talk to some people, figure things out, look at things in a different angle, a different way, but there's no problem that you can't solve. Now, if I had a negative mindset and I thought, oh, everything's a problem, my life is doomed, horrible, I'm not smart enough, I can't figure it out, all this shit. You think you're gonna find a solution? You ain't gonna find a solution. You're gonna find nothing. All you're gonna do is you're gonna focus in and you're gonna key in on this problem, okay? And sometimes problems take a while to solve, you know? I just solved a problem that had been going on for a year yesterday. Yesterday, I got a final end product to a problem that had started about a year ago. And yesterday it was done. 1 year. But the secret was I just had the right positive mindset. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stay positive and I'm gonna focus on solution, solution, solution. Now, there's a difference between a kumbaya positive mindset, like, oh, I'm gonna sit here and do absolutely nothing and have a positive mindset and think you're gonna do shit. You're not. Positive mindset added to doingness, added to work productivity in the right direction is what's going to solve the problem. Not sitting there with a mentality or mindset that, oh, everything's positive, there's no problems, I'm great, the world is fantastic, I'm glowing, all that BS. That's not gonna solve your problem. What's gonna solve your problem is like massive action in the right direction coupled with the right mindset. And that's the difference really between going from good to great, is that mindset. If you don't have that mindset, you're gonna struggle a lot and you're gonna give up and you're gonna get tired because you're frustrated about the results you're not getting because of the work you're not putting in.